back to my apartment, everything looked the same but different. Things were in the same place where I had left them before, but there were twice as many couches, twice as many roommates, and I couldn't even look my roommates Jenny and Catherine really in the eye when I got home. I remember we sat down to watch a movie, and I had to turn my head a little bit to be able to see a single image of the screen in front of me, and I knew at that moment that there was no way a sinus infection could be causing such a commotion. 2 days later, I was back in Chattanooga, waiting to get an MRI on the table in Memorial Hospital. One of my friends had noticed that my eye wasn't moving at all, and she made the command decision to put me in the car and drive me back home. I remember we were driving down the interstate, and we were listening to a classic rock station, and this song from the 70s came on about double vision, if anybody's ever heard it. And my friend, of course, thought it was hilarious. She just cracked me up. And, you know, in my normal state, I probably would have laughed too, but I just was so scared. I was just mad at her for thinking it was funny. But the real panic didn't set in until I was actually on the MRI table. I had never been claustrophobic before, but they had strapped something around my neck and fastened a mask over my face, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. I was starting to cry, and it was such a foreign experience to me. The only thing that was calming me down was that my dad was holding my hand as I was being moved back into the MRI machine, and he had them, place a mirror on the mask so that I could see him out of the back of the machine. And he was singing Gordon Lightfoot songs to me the entire time, trying to drown out the noise of the machine. I started to calm down about an hour into the MRI, and when the scan was complete, I was pulled back into the room to face my new life, which was scary in itself. I remember I just went outside, and luckily my church is right across the street from Memorial Hospital. So I just sat there praying, just hoping that there was some way that this was just all a bad dream, that I was soon going to escape. A spot on my scan and the results of my spinal tap the next day revealed that I did in fact have multiple sclerosis. So I spent several days at home trying to process my diagnosis, but by the time I got back to school, a new sort of fear had set in. How was I going to live as a college student with this disease that nobody even really knew anything about? If you've ever been to Athens, Georgia, you know that it's all about having fun, being young, going to parties and football and all of that. And I just felt like a sickly stranger in a sea of pretty blonde co-eds. The prism glasses that I had gotten to make my vision clear just didn't look right on my face, and I was a mess. I wasn't quite sure how to work with what I'd been given. Everything was making me nauseous, even just watching TV, and I couldn't really work out. I couldn't read without getting a headache, and the weaving and sewing projects that I had to do for my fabric design degree were very difficult to do. I had lost some feeling in my hands, and I couldn't really see my work anyway. But a determined type A personality, as most people with multiple sclerosis are, I was going to get through that semester successfully, on time. With the support of my family, friends, and a drug called Copaxone, I managed to coexist with my disease for the next year. My vision had snapped back into focus 5 or 6 months later, as I had been told that it would, and the numbness in my hands and feet began to go away. I went for walks with my roommates, parties on the weekends, and everything was pretty much back to normal. Except that my best friend, Jenny, had to give me shots every other night. But all in all, I felt pretty good, until March came again. The weather in Athens was warming up, and we were all getting ready for spring break. I should have been on cloud 9, but all of a sudden there was this steel sort of band that felt like it was just wrapped around my chest, and it was itching and I couldn't really breathe, and the itching sensation began to overtake my entire body. I started to drag my left foot behind me and I was limping even at one point. Another MRI and revealed 12 new lesions on my brain and spinal cord. The Copaxone had stopped working. A round of IV steroids took the edge off of my symptoms, but it had a less than desirable effect on my mental well-being. And a new treatment, beta-seron, made me feel like I had the flu 3 times a week. I began to realize that it was impossible for me to keep living my life pretending like nothing was wrong. That was the day that I received a package in the mail from my mom, and it contained an article that she found in Yoga Journal about a gentleman with multiple sclerosis. He'd been a quadriplegic, and he was so determined to get his health back that he started going to seeing a yogi in Britain, I believe, and he had managed to rehabilitate himself and was teaching yoga to people with MS in California. So immediately I went and found a studio where I could practice in yoga. I was seeing a holistic practitioner. I started doing different sorts of things to help my health, changed my diet, and I went for water jogs with Jenny in the pool at UGA, and I was feeling good. I had taken control of the things that I could control. I was feeling so great that I decided to go to Avignon for the summer with Jenny. She's right here. I keep looking at her, and she is a huge part of this. So we went to Avignon for the summer, and in France, you can't have any kind of strict lifestyle. It's all about drinking the wine and having fun and just taking life day by day. And that whole way of thinking it just really clicked with me. And I even went to Cannes during the film festival. It was an amazing summer. I had developed a new sense of peace with the disease that had become my constant companion. My senior year went by peacefully, save for one spell of optic neuritis that blurred my vision for a few days. And the 3 months I spent in Greece following my college graduation were amazing. I went to my grandfather's village, I spent time with my cousins, and for a time I even forgot that I had multiple sclerosis. By the time I got home, I felt so good that I wanted to go to Europe again, so I made plans to go to Florence and work for 6 months at a textile magazine in Italy. Again, like France, everything in Italy agreed with me. It was quiet, I liked the wine, and I liked the food, and I didn't even notice when my foot started to drag again and slam on the cobblestone roads in Florence, because you can't really concentrate on anything else there except for how beautiful it is. By the time I did come back to Chattanooga, I felt virtually reborn. My MS and I had grown close on our journey, strange as it may seem. I knew what to expect, how to handle flare-ups when they did happen, and I'd also grown to appreciate them as what they truly are, which is just a constant reminder to enjoy my life and take care of my health. I'd met someone, Joey, who remained unshaken at the first mention of my MS, and who even helped me give myself shots despite his fear of needles. I liked my job, loved my family, and for a time I forgot my MS existed once again.